and you're listening to WICR.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sports on the Fly. I am Ian Sachs. There is a little tweaking sound in the background. I don't exactly know what that is. A little intrigued here, but all right. Sorry for that sound. If it's coming through, I don't know. Anyway, we will continue and talk a little bit about. I'm going to start it off with some college football. Season wrapping down. Got about 2 weeks left in the regular season, then conference championships, and then we enter the bowl season, the championship season with the 4-team playoff. It is great. So just real quick, looking at the standings, first up we got Alabama number 1 in the college football playoff ranking. Florida State number 1 in the AP Top 25. Florida State, of course, undefeated defending national champions, have not lost a game this year or last year. So I think got about a 23-game winning streak going, maybe something like that. And the Seminoles, that's a tough record to beat. No, they haven't lost at all. But Alabama has just been so dominant this year. Florida State has not come away with any really dominating performances. I mean, Alabama, you've got wins over a 59-0 win over Texas A&M a few weeks ago when Texas A&M was ranked number 21. Of course, they did lose to number 11 Mississippi. But then beating number 16 LSU in overtime, and then taking it to the number 1 team, Mississippi State, last week, 25-20. Alabama's got an easy one this week with Western Carolina, and then of course the Iron Bowl, Auburn, number 14. That is the Saturday of Thanksgiving weekend. Number 2 in the college football playoff ranking, you've got Oregon. Got Colorado this week, who's an unranked team, and then of course the Civil War, Oregon State Thanksgiving weekend, and then the Big 12 title game. Could Oregon State pull off an upset there? Certainly, I think they can. I don't think they will. I see both Alabama and Oregon running the table. Same with Florida State. You have the Seminoles. They've got a rivalry game with Boston College this week. Then Florida in-state matchup there Thanksgiving weekend. And then Georgia Tech in the ACC championship game. Should be a good game. But of course, again, I think Florida State takes it and runs the table and runs their way into the college football playoff. But now that brings us to the number 4 team in the country. That magical berth there, now that there is the 4-team playoff. Right now you've got Mississippi State, followed by TCU. And for the college football playoff, you got Ohio State at 6, Baylor at 7, Ole Miss at 8. Ole Miss starting a string of 2-loss teams. But looking at the 1-loss teams, you've got Mississippi State right now in there at 9-1. TCU number 5, 9-1. Ohio State 9-1. Baylor 8-1. I think you have to look at Mississippi State as the best team there. They play in the SEC. They have a 9-1 record. Their only loss coming to Alabama, who is the number 1 ranked team in the country right now. A very telling game for them will be against number 8 at number 8 Mississippi. Ole Miss Saturday the 29th. That's the Saturday of Thanksgiving weekend. I think if they beat Vanderbilt this week and beat Ole Miss, they should be in. Losing only one game in the SEC, beating back to back LSU, Texas A&M, Auburn. Find me another team in the country that did that. Beating teams of that high caliber back to back. That's the SEC for you. That's the reason why everybody is on the SEC and on the SEC bandwagon saying that there should certainly be multiple SEC teams in the college football playoff. Completely agree there. Pulling up TCU now, they beat Oklahoma, lost to Baylor in a wild shootout. They've beaten 1, 2, 3, 4. They've beaten 4 ranked teams. That's nothing to sneeze at. They beat Oklahoma, beat Oklahoma State, beat West Virginia, and beat Kansas State. You can certainly make a convincing case for them. They are ranked 8th in the nation for passing yards, but I just don't think that their schedule in the Big 12 is anywhere near an SEC schedule. Now, looking at Ohio State. Now, we'll get to Ohio State in a minute. Going up at Baylor. Baylor beat TCU head-to-head, but they lost to West Virginia, which obviously is not as good a loss as TCU's loss to Baylor. They're coming off of a win against Oklahoma. They only have 2 wins against ranked teams. Of course, they'd still have to play Kansas State. I think Baylor is going to need a lot of help in order to get in. Ohio State now. A lot of people recently are starting to buy into them. I'd say after that win against number 8 Michigan State on the road on November 8th, the Buckeyes surged into very much contention for being in the playoff. Now, they do not have that tough a schedule the rest of the way. They've got Indiana at home this week, Michigan at home the following week, and then the Big Ten Championship. But in the Big Ten Championship game, they'll likely be facing off against someone like Wisconsin, maybe, which is not that tough of a game for Ohio State. So, odds that Ohio State will win out, I think, very high. But the Buckeyes have the one loss, and that's to Virginia Tech. Now, that's a non-conference game. Certainly a better non-conference game than the way Alabama's got Western Carolina coming up this weekend. The Virginia Tech one is certainly a better game. So you have to give a little credit to Ohio State for challenging themselves that way. But when you look at their conference schedule, it does not match up with the SEC, which is why I think, now provided all these teams went out, Mississippi State's got a brutal game against Ole Miss, close out the regular season. Alabama's got Auburn coming up. Oregon, you never know what could happen in the Pac-12 championship game. Florida State, obviously, they seem to always be able to sneak by, but hey, they've got a few tough games on the slate, with especially with Georgia Tech, I believe, in the ACC championship game. That could be the end of Florida State's run. I don't think so. I think that I look at the top 6 teams all winning out the rest of the way, which could pose a little question for who gets into the final spot. I think the top 3 are locked: Alabama, Oregon, Florida State. Of course, the order could vary a little, but I've got them all locked in. And then right now, I have it staying with Mississippi State in the number 4 spot, giving you 2 SEC teams and 1 Pac-12, 1 ACC to lead you into the college football playoff. So, it should be a good finish. This weekend, not that many good games on the slate. A lot of them happen Thanksgiving weekend with rivalry week and everything. But pulling up the schedule right now, let's see. The best games that I'm seeing right now, good matchup out west, Arizona at Utah, number 15 Arizona at number 17 Utah. You've got good matchup number 25 Minnesota against number 23 Nebraska. But I don't really see any exceptional marquee matchups like, here's one that I just found. 8 o'clock ABC Saturday. Number 19 USC visiting number 9 UCLA. Always a great battle between those two squads. Could have some implications for who represents the South in the Pac-12 championship game. So I'd say that is the game to watch of the weekend. A relatively slow weekend before rivalry week next weekend, when there is a boatload of great games to keep an eye out for. But my game to watch this week is USC UCLA. And before I finish up this segment, giving a prediction for that, I've got to go with a little Bruin luck, and I'm going with UCLA taking it to USC at home and asserting themselves as a premier team in the Pac-12 and doing all they can to find a matchup with presumably Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game. That pretty much wraps up college football for me. Take a quick break, jump onto some NBA, jump onto some NFL before we wrap up the show. We've still got about 45 minutes, so don't go anywhere.
Iona College's highly accredited graduate programs empower students to earn degrees that command respect in the real world. Start your career path today or change direction towards a new profession. Iona's expert academic advisors and